I made you!
The phantoms of dead children aren't the only things haunting the cast of the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. Welcome to Wicked Binge. Today, we're taking another trip to Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria to sentence the Five Nights at Freddy's movie characters for their crimes. First off on the docket, let's start with the characters who aren't quite villains, but are still guilty of a few criminal activities. Starting with the main character, Mike. Mike is definitely the most morally upright character we'll be talking about today, but that doesn't make him totally innocent. Like we discussed in our Good to Evil video, Mike made a poor first impression by viciously attacking an innocent man who he mistook for a child kidnapper.
What is your deal, Mike?
This would have been justifiable and even admirable if he were right, but in actuality the man was just the kid's father. He got the absolute tar beaten out of him in front of his very young child for absolutely no reason at all. We feel for Mike's trauma from witnessing the kidnapping of his brother Garrett as a child, and we can understand that he has good intentions. But this display shows that Mike has some serious anger and violence issues to work through. What was meant to be an act of heroism was instead reduced to nothing more than an aggravated physical assault. Because his heart was in the right place, we're gonna sentence Mike to 6 months on probation, plus mandatory anger management, and also pay for the poor guy's hospital bills. I mean, geez. Following Mike, we have his double agent babysitter, Max. While she initially seems to be a good friend and maybe more of Mike's, even going as far as to provide what's essentially free childcare for his kid sister Abby, Max is also a bit of a snitch, or at least an attempted snitch.
You were about to tell me what a miserable failure you are.
Jane, who we'll get to later, pays Max and her brother Jeff, who we'll also get to later, to destroy Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, so that Mike will lose his job as a security guard. That's not even taking into account the attempt to drum up a child endangerment case against Mike, since while it's a very treacherous move for someone who's supposed to be his friend, isn't really worth mentioning compared to the other crimes we've got to go over. Anyone who saw the movie knows she got way more payback than she actually warranted, but if we were to put Max on trial, well, for one thing, we have to give her a charge of conspiring to destroy someone else's property. Jane may have been the mastermind behind the plan, but Max was, if nothing else, ultimately willing to go along with it. What's more, this was a conspiracy to get Mike fired, which could easily tack on some defamation. That being said, unlike mostly everyone else on this list, Max is generally an overall decent person. We can see that she has some standards given that she not only refuses Mike's attempt to pay her for babysitting, possibly due to guilt, but also hesitates to go through with Jane's scummy plan. It's not unreasonable to think that she can get her life back together. Still, it is clear that Max is more than willing to commit crimes for some money here and there, so we'll have to hit her where it hurts, her pocketbook. Our sentence for Max is a fine of $1,200, the exact amount she was expected to be paid by Jane, and 6 months of probation, and a mandatory apology to Mike. And since we're in the area, let's go ahead and talk about her brother, Jeff, and his gang. While Max manages to come off as more of an overall moral person despite her misdeeds, Jeff is a bit more black and white in terms of his evil. He's the leader of a small gang of delinquents, and his violent tendencies are shown off pretty quickly. His immediate suggestion to Jane as to how to make her legal battle with Mike easier is to just kill him.
Tempting, but no.
The fact that he was so quick to suggest that, and even more so being so completely nonchalant about it, indicates that him and his buddies have done some less than savory things. But innocent until proven guilty, sure. For starters, Jeff actually helped suggest the idea of destroying Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria to discredit Mike's work as a security guard. That's conspiracy and maybe even slander right there. And given the nature of him and his gang, they already seem to have a bit of a record in their own right.
You see anything valuable, grab it, and we'll settle up after.
They're simultaneously trying to discredit an innocent man, destroy someone else's property, and accept a bribe from Jane, all while having a presumably violent criminal record. Given all this, for the incidents we see in the movie, we sentence Jeff and his cohorts to 5 years in prison.
But before we get to our next entry, today's video is sponsored by PIA VPN. If you're a fan of Wicked Binge, I'm sure you also watch a lot of cartoons and animated series on Netflix, Disney Plus, and all sorts of other streaming services. But a lot of times your favorite content isn't available. But did you know that all of these streaming services have different libraries of available content based on the region of the world that you're currently in? That means there's content that's available around the world that's region blocked here in the United States, and vice versa. But you can get around this super easy by using Private Internet Access VPN. Here are some shows that aren't available in the US, but we can unlock them just by changing our location. I can use PIA VPN to change my server to another country, and boom, they're instantly available. And it's actually pretty crazy how much stuff there is that's region restricted that you can unlock instantly with a VPN. On Disney+, Netflix, Hulu, and pretty much all the major streaming services. On top of that, it's also a great added security precaution to protect your data from hackers, internet service providers, and other shady entities. Connecting to a public internet connection without a VPN is kind of like writing your passwords on a post-it note and leaving it on your desk. This is why whenever I travel, if I have to connect to public Wi-Fi at a hotel, airport, or coffee shop, I always use a VPN. And the best part is, PIA VPN has a killer deal for our audience. If you use our link below, you can get an 83% discount on Private Internet Access VPN. That's just $2.03 per month, and they'll even throw in an extra 4 months for free. Thank you to PIA VPN for sponsoring us today, helping us unlock more streaming content online and keeping our data safe. Now, let's get back to the video.
And for the last of this criminal bribery trio, we have Aunt Jane. Let's not beat around the bush here. While Max and Jeff are guilty to various degrees, Jane is the mastermind behind the plan to defame Mike and destroy the pizzeria. This is an attempt to discredit him in the custody battle for his sister Abby. And in said pursuit, she's more than willing to bribe others to commit actual crimes in an attempt to effectively slander someone else.
You were gonna find me hard proof of criminal endangerment.
Even worse, she schemes all of this in front of her lawyer, which means she's probably also dirtying his name. Heck, if there was some kind of blackmail going on, it wouldn't even surprise us. Given the nature and extent of her crimes against the Schmidts and her manipulation of others, we sentence her to 10 years in prison and a government-issued restraining order against her, prohibiting her from seeing Mike or Abby. Now, relax, we haven't forgotten the main baddies of the movie, but we do have one more lesser criminal to talk about first, Vanessa Afton, the deuteragonist of the movie. Perhaps an odd choice, but even police officers aren't above the law. Can we just start by saying the nerve, the audacity even, for this woman to threaten to shoot Mike for endangering Abby by taking her to the pizzeria while she herself endangers both of them by not telling them the true horrors that lurk there? I mean, come on. While all three are aware of the whole ghosts possessing animatronics thing, Vanessa keeps the information that her father, William Afton, is the child serial killer who stuffed those kids' corpses into the animatronics.
I'm telling you, you need to let it go.
We get the emotional side of it, but look at it objectively. This woman knows a literal serial killer's whereabouts, as well as those of his child victims, and she's been hiding this information for what seems to be at least a decade, given hers and Mike's ages compared to the children's. One could argue that this is done to protect the people, and that's valid, but being a police officer, there's no excuse for her to not tell the proper authorities about this to give the family some justice, or at the very least, some closure. And you know what's even crazier? We totally glossed over her threatening to kill Mike. Sorry, to shoot Mike.
But if you ever bring Abby back here again, I will shoot you.
Still, she does actually save his and Abby's lives by taking her dad out, so we're gonna be somewhat merciful. If she gives the proper information to law enforcement, we'll sentence her to 3 years on probation. Now, it's finally time for the moment we've all been waiting for. Let's talk about Freddy Fazbear and company. Chica, Bunny, Foxy, the cupcake that looks like Timmy Turner, all those guys. If you're a Five Nights at Freddy's fan, you probably know the drill with them already. They're possessed by the ghosts of the children William Afton killed in the 1980s. Following his commands, they've been killing whoever enters their midst for ages. Not out of malice, but out of either following their boss's commands or desperately wanting companionship. Freddy even shows capacity for manipulation in his attempt to get Mike to sacrifice Abby in exchange for getting Garrett back.
We want Abby.
So let's see. Mass murder, check. Psychological manipulation, check. With a list of crimes like that, naturally, we're gonna have to completely pardon them. No, we're not joking. They're literal ghosts. The only reason they hurt anyone was because of Afton hurting them, and then continuing to from beyond the grave.
Look at the nasty things that you have become.
It's time to just let the kids rest, man. In fact, better than that, we sentenced the city to build them an animatronic-sized playground so they can enjoy life. Or, afterlife. Speaking of which, it's time for the grand finale, and of course, it's the most evil villain by a long shot, William Afton. And you know what? We're not even gonna patronize you here, man. Death penalty is what he gets. In case anyone needs us to deliberate, No, I don't need to deliberate. I got the spring trap right here. This man killed at least 5 or 6 children, then proceeded to hide their bodies inside of animatronics singing animals, which he proceeds to use in order to kill more people over the years for nothing but sick, twisted pleasure. At a certain point, he goes way beyond just crimes against humanity. These are crimes against the undead. The death penalty is actually light for him.
I always come back